College Talk Tuesday, Andy Lockwood, Lockwood College Prep. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. I'm doing this one lone wolf style without Pearl Lockwood because she got called into family duties. So first off, she spent some time nursing her sister who was getting an eye procedure done. And then was about to sit down here, and our daughter, who's not been feeling well, needed to be picked up from school. So that left me here. But I said, Pearl, hey, Pearl, do you have any type of words of wisdom that you want to share? So she on her way out, she threw out a couple of bon mots, that's French for Pearl stuff, and I am going to share that with you. But if you are joining us, College Talk Tuesday comes live to you every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Facebook. And it's a forum to hear about what you should be doing now in terms of college planning. So the stuff that Pearl was going to talk about was mostly about class of 2018 kids and financial aid and scholarships and things, because that's what she handles. And the advice that I'm going to talk about afterward is, after I'm done channeling Pearl, is going to be about what you should be doing if you have a class of 2019 or younger kid, because I've been having a lot of conversations so maybe with class of 2019 and other kids, and there's a lot of questions I'm getting, and you probably have some of the same questions, like, what the hell should we be doing now? I don't even know where to start. What colleges should we be looking at, and so forth. So, first I'll start off with the Pearl stuff, but let me just see if anyone is joining us. I know we have a couple of people coming on who told me they were coming on, so if you have any questions or comments, or you just want to say hi, or maybe something vaguely appropriate, please feel free to pop your comments into the comments section. And I got it right up here. So we got one or two people popping in and out, which is cool. So, and if you're watching this on replay, that's when most of our viewers come, then absolutely feel free to ask your questions in the comments section there. So, who do we got here so far? Okay, a couple people. All right, so please feel free to ask your college question. If you have any burning questions about what should I be doing now, this is the chance to ask those questions. So, financial aid-wise, Pearl has been spending a lot of time with panicked client emails with words to the effect of, such and such college says they didn't get my FAFSA, but I thought we filed that months ago. Like, what's happening? Okay, so what's happening is that you're getting blast emails that happen every year with little to no bearing on whether or not they've actually received your financial aid form. So even if you dutifully filed your FAFSA and or your CSS profile in October or November, and now as I record this, it's the beginning of February, and the colleges could still say, hey, where are your forms? We didn't get anything. That's just because the process is, it's very poorly designed. And in most cases, colleges actually did receive your forms. They just don't have it in the right, pile, so to speak. So what you should do is, instead of panicking, is you should go back, look at your filing receipts, and if you can't find that email from fafsa.gov, that's okay. Then call up the school and say, I think I filed. Can you just double check? And worst comes to worst, you can just resend the forms to that school. It happens every year. Don't panic. And sometimes what happens is there's one form that's filed, but the other one for some reason gets lost. Like the CSS profile might go in, but they don't have the FAFSA. Again, they're not going to penalize you for being late if you explain to them, look, I did file, here's my receipt, and they'll say, oh, so words to the effect of, oh, that's okay. So do not panic, remain calm. Another scenario that I dealt with this week already, I guess it's Tuesday, is when people who have no shot at qualifying for need-based aid, that's a whole other topic, by the way, but people who have no chance of qualifying for need-based aid didn't file their financial aid forms, and they're getting questions, similar types of emails, like, hey, file your FAFSA. Don't get all lathered up. Don't get into a tizzy over that one either, because you can always file and you're not going to be penalized, because if you don't qualify, you don't qualify. So I had that conversation with a client recently, who yesterday, who in no way, shape, or form can possibly qualify for need-based aid. They own a business that's been around 100 years, and it's a multi-million-dollar business, and their personal income knocks them way out of the box of getting any type of need-based aid. But they're getting these emails. I said, listen, if you really want us to file, we could, because some schools will require the FAFSA and the CSS profile for merit scholarships. However, that's usually not the case. It's a school-by-school basis, but either way, you're not going to be penalized for not filing because you're not going to get anything anyway. Okay? So that was what Pearl would have said had she been here with me instead of that thing she does called parenting, mothering. So that's the Pearl segment. Let me just pause and say hi to, it looks like Pearl Chisner Lockwood joined, so now she can hear me saying all that stuff about her. But I just went through Pearl. If I gave the advice correctly or incorrectly, of course you'll let me know. Either humiliate me in public or or private. And then the rest of the story is, what should you be doing now if you have a high school junior who's thinking about constructing a college list. So about an hour before we went on the air, we meaning me, Pearl's here in spirit, but an hour before I went on the air, I had a conversation with a client. They're both they're self-employed doctors, and their son's a pretty bright kid. He goes to a local high school here, and they started, they went to a whole bunch of schools up in one geographic area on the northern and the northeast seaboard. They're going to visit a bunch of other schools, but they're very frustrated because every time they ask the kid, so what do you think? He's like, or they say, I've been getting these notices about these summer enrichment programs. Are you interested in doing some sort of internship or study in London or something like that? And he's like, and no, I don't have a problem with that, by the way, because a lot of times these programs, specifically the one that they're talking about, they're great in terms of the enrichment, meaning number one, the valuable experience that will enrich the lives of the kids who do it, but frankly, it also means the company who's enriched by the credit card charges for the clients who engage in these things. But one group of people that this doesn't particularly enrich or help out that much are admissions officers, because they know that these programs tend to be just these glorified pay-to-play types of experiences where there's no real rigor, or I don't know what the right word is, I guess, qualifications you need to demonstrate in order to get in to these programs. They're not very selective, and that it does show that your parents have money and that you want to do something productive, or that other people think is productive over the summer. But that's not really going to get you into a top choice school or get you off the fence for a top choice school. It's very hard to get into. So those are my comments. What I do think you should do though is try to do some introspection. And I was telling her about our process, which I've spoken about before at length, ad nauseum on these sessions on College Talk Tuesday. But what our process involves, number one, trying to figure out what you're going to college for, what's next. And we use an assessment. There's all sorts of free stuff all over the internet. We use something that's not free. We actually have a certified career counselor who happens to have been a former admissions officer, so we go a little bit deeper with that. But if people were doing it on their own, I would say do any one of the free assessments like Myers-Briggs or Colby or something, and then see what that indicates in terms, and sometimes it's goofy, don't get me wrong, but see what that indicates in terms of fields that you should possibly consider pursuing. And then at that point, start thinking about majors that lead to those types of careers, and maybe whittle that down to 3 or 4 different outcomes that are interesting to you, and check and see whether these majors and careers, I should say, are predicted to be in growth mode or not in growth mode. You can look at things like the Bureau of Labor Statistics and other type of indices. And then from there, back into a set of colleges that are reputable across the board with several of these fields that are appealing to you. And that's the way to pick colleges. And then you start getting into, okay, big, small, medium, East Coast, West Coast. I like the mascot. I like the football team. all that other stuff. That's all part of the process too. But don't just focus artificially on the 4 years. Look at the reasonable outcome or potential outcomes, and then back into the college list. And of course, no one knows what the hell they want to do for the rest of their lives when they're 15 years old or 16 years old. But you can go in, and many adults fall into that category, which was the comment I got from the dad about an hour ago. But that doesn't mean you should totally abdicate your responsibility of trying to think about this stuff. And I don't know, I think picking schools for any other types of reasons is really, it's a recipe for disaster. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. So do that first, and then figure out, bring in all the other factors. And then the next step is, okay, what do I do to get in? So you're building, what I want you to think about is, if you have a junior, is that everything that kid has done since 9th grade, sometimes earlier, by the way, has been about creating a body of work that ultimately will be evaluated. And there's grades and there's scores and there's rigor, AP, IB classes, but then that might be 60% of the equation. Then there's all this other stuff, all this other 40% stuff, some of which is out of your control, like race or ethnicity, what part of the country you're from, what part of the world you're from, legacy or not, that type of stuff. But then there are things that you can control, and that stuff is really about being an incomparable applicant, being an applicant that stands out for the right reasons, even though on paper your academic credentials might be the same as thousands of other kids. So that does not start with the essays. That's one of the final pieces of the picture. It's all the extracurricular stuff, but it can also be, frankly, when you visit colleges. Go and visit. So if you're interested in being a business major, like the guy that I was talking about is, a great thing to do is to sit down with the heads of the business departments at as many schools as you're visiting as possible, and ask them questions about outcomes, meaning what happened to kids who majored in what I'm thinking about. Those kids who graduated last year, where are they now? Who did the best? Who did the worst? How do I avoid, being not succeeding? What type of negative role model advice would you give me? What's going to happen is you'll get a much better feel for what the college is going to be like, as in terms of what specific type of experience you could have as a certain major, way beyond the college tours, which are all sort of, you got these backward walking kids who are pointing out the new science building, the new dorms, the restaurant stuff, the blue lights, in case you feel like you could be assaulted or something. I'm being a little annoying about that, but they really are all the same. All those college tours, they blend in, and it's very hard to distinguish one from the other. But you'll get more out of sitting down specifically with department heads, and that'll help you get a better feel for the college. The other benefit is that when you write your essays, and there's almost always, if a school has supplemental essays, there's almost always an essay about why are you applying to our college, what attracted you, or how did you learn about us. And if you say something like, well, you're very highly ranked, and I always wanted to go to school in Washington, D.C. because of all the, government-related opportunities and so on and so forth, or Boston or whatever, New York or whatever, you're really just saying high-level generic stuff, and you're not drilling down and being convincing to the admissions officer that you did your due diligence and that you're a serious candidate. So if you're, instead of saying the stuff I mentioned, great area, a lot of stuff going on, a lot of opportunities, if instead you say, well, as a matter of fact, when I sat down with Professor such and such, the head of the business department, and he told me about something that wasn't on the website, but I found really intriguing, which was that A, B, and C, and then you go into more stuff, that is a more sophisticated and convincing supplemental essay. So that's what I think you should be doing on visits. You should be booking time with department heads ahead of time and they're frankly pretty easy to do. And sit down with them and ask them a bunch of questions that are related to what your life and your outcomes could be like as a major in that particular field. Okay, let's go to the comments and whatever. I got Cheryl Weiner. Okay, when can I expect the list just for Stacy and the link to the Naviance on steroids? I actually sent that over to you, but I will double check that. So thank you for the public reminder. Always a pleasure. And I see, okay, Jimmy, and okay, good. So those are really my comments for College Talk Tuesday in terms of this is what you should be doing now. And if you have any questions at all, please pop them in comments now. If you want to private message me, that's fine also. And the next thing that we have coming up is we're going to be doing a diagnostic, half SAT, half ACT this weekend. If you want information about that, again, private message me. I'm going to be announcing that to anyone on my email list. You can get on that list at lockwoodcollegeprep.com and just download any of the free stuff we have there. And we have college coffee talk every Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is really to get one-on-one coaching for free. It goes an hour from 9 to 10, or sometimes we stop a little earlier, but not always. It's anything that's on your mind related to college. Okay. So thanks a lot for watching and being with us and spreading our information around. And we're available for any comments, just questions about your college planning. Just pop them in right here on this page. And have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.